Well, why is Plan B, a leading money management company headquartered here in Western Australia, interested in supporting promising and elite cyclists? I believe that there are many parallels between endurance sport and business, but there's even more parallels between cycling and business. Let me just outline two of them, and I'll relate them if I can to how our company has gone as well. In 1988, in the days after the stock market crash, it felt a little bit like this week. Plan B set out to revolutionise the investment selling industry, and we became one of the very first to forsake the investment commissions in favour of fees being paid by the clients. Now, we didn't even know if a business based on that could survive, but we believed it was the right thing to do. We persevered, and now the industry virtually doesn't argue that case anymore. Perseverance in the face of pain and suffering, perseverance when no one seems to understand why you're doing it, perseverance when the game appears to be lost. That's what we've done in business, and I think, as everyone in this room knows, that's what elite cyclists do, that's what even good cyclists do. They keep going. I remember well during my early years on the bike, when it was veterans probably my age who were teaching me how to ride, that I learnt that when I was done in, everyone else was as well, and that was a great time to attack. Plan B feels quite at home dealing with competitive people who persevere through injury, through sickness, through bad results, through non-selections. They keep going because keeping going makes a difference. Another of the many parallels that I could mention relates to science. When Plan B started managing money after the crash of 1987, we decided that if we couldn't do it properly, we'd get out of the business. We'd close down the company. And a body of science was becoming known back then that gave us some clues that we needed to form the company that's now known as Plan B. That body of science won Nobel Prizes in 1992 and 1995, but it wasn't known that well in those days. What has happened is that we now have a company that manages well over $1 billion, $1.5 billion, even today after the crash. And it hasn't been caught by any of the investment disasters that have happened over all those years since we started. Why? Because we purposely set out every day to do what's proven to work, and we don't take shortcuts. And we don't follow ideas just because they're popular. In the current market turmoil, we do not have any failed investment funds, no failed products, no failed sectors. All our fixed interest is safe and well performing. None is in subprime mortgages because we understand the science of risk. Well, when I raced back in the late 70s and early 80s when I came to Western Australia, and Hank is here and he'll be speaking later, he was a state coach in the couple of years that I rode over here, we didn't have a lot of science. We just trained hard and intuitively did some intervals. Well, as you all now know, science can be a great help to the promising cyclist. Partnering with WACE gives Plan B racing team the ability to fine-tune to do the right things well. There's no prospect, I believe, of an elite rider making it to the top without the aid of science today. You'll only make it as far as I did, as far as your natural ability took you, or took me, and then it's basically the end. The scientific approach to cycling will improve your strengths and even your weaknesses. Plan B is a company that values teamwork, and we're happy to work with Cycling WA, WACE, Budget Forklifts, and all the other sponsors that have been showing up on the screen and that were mentioned a little bit earlier. We are happy to work with them for a purpose, in order to enable our elite and our potentially elite cyclists to actually make it to the top, to give them the pathways that weren't there before. I digress off my notes for a minute, but when I first came to Western Australia, I think in that first or second year, we had a world champion, Steele Bishop, come from here. As a Sydney rider, I could not even believe that it would be possible for a person to become a world champion when there were no others. You know, we had 9 riders in A grade back then. That's the way you raced all the time. And yet, through that type of perseverance, it could be done. But we want to help the cyclists of today on a pathway that is set before them, that they can go and emulate the deeds of those who've gone before, stand on the great shoulders of those who've gone before, and even do better. We're glad to be part of your success, and we trust that each one of you will hold on to the values that we do as you seek to achieve your very best in the great sport of cycling. Thanks for having us on board.